Everybody, welcome to Public Land Meat Company. Today we're going to be doing one of my favorite meals of the hunting foodie type of year is spring Thanksgiving, and I always do this with the first turkey that I shoot every single spring. I do it into kind of a traditional roast turkey. Have a couple twists in there that we're going to teach you along the way to keep a ton of moisture in the bird, but we're just going to jump right into it and kind of show you how I do this. And then the next step of this whole recipe is that I actually have a second recipe that we're going to do with all the leftovers, if you have any, from that roast bird that you do initially. So stick with us, let's get cooking. What we kind of do, and this is sort of a tip for anybody, I use these brines with all my birds, and that goes for store-bought birds or wild birds, but if you kind of keep an eye right after Thanksgiving at the grocery store on the brines, they always have the turkey brines for half or more off. So I usually pick up one or two of them so that in the springtime I got this. It just kind of saves you a few bucks. So this one's just the Spice Hunter original turkey brine, and I've used a number of them over the years. They're all pretty good, or you can do your own and get creative that way. So first kind of step here is we just pull the bird from the pot and get it rinsed off. And just give it a little rinse here. All that excess off. And then I'm just going to set it back into my roaster pan. Let's see how this puppy's going to want to sit up. Now, wild birds are always kind of deeper this way than store-bought birds. They just don't have that big thumper sitting right there in the middle of their chest. So you kind of want to see, making sure your lid's going to fit in this one just about. So we'll use a little bit of aluminum foil also when we put that cover on. Next step, just kind of pat that bird dry. And there's a couple odds and end feathers from the plucking job. Nobody in my crew is really a fan of eating the turkey skin, so we leave the skin on through the bake, just to get the fat content a little higher in that bake and keep moisture in the bird. But once the bird is cooked, we just skin it and then eat the meat after that. So not too concerned on perfection with that. You can use a torch to get some of the pin feathers off of there and all that, but again, we're just gonna skin it and toss it aside, so didn't worry about that part. Next, just cover it in butter. Alright, so probably the biggest difference in how I do turkeys and how most people do them comes to the stuffing. And one thing that always just happens, and especially with wild turkeys, is that if you stuff that bird with something that's going to draw moisture out of the bird, it's going to make all that meat just really dry and more tough. And so what I kind of came across was, if you fill the bird with, you can do apples. I like to do apples and onions is kind of the mix that I like to do. Or you can also do like apples and celery and onion, or apples and oranges works pretty well as well. Just kind of depends on the overall flavor you're sort of looking for. But you just coarsely cut up, quarter some apples, kind of coarsely cut up some onion, and then you just fill that turkey's chest cavity with the apples and the onions. And it doesn't have to be done in any real intricate type way. It's just jam them in there, a few apples, half an onion, full onion, whatever you want. And you stuff the bird with that. And it is just absolutely incredible how much moisture that imparts into the meat and how much better that bake is when you're done. This is something that we started to do with the wild birds and then quickly adopted for any store-bought roasted turkeys we do as well. So looks like maybe one more apple to get that really, really full. Also adds kind of a dynamic flavor to the gravy if you are going to make that as well. That should do it. So yeah, just a little step, little change, but man, it makes all the difference in the world as far as the end result, how that bird tastes. Then the final step before the bake is just to get it covered up in some poultry seasoning. I guess that's not the final step. Got ahead of myself a little bit. Second to final step, the last thing I do is just throw a little bit of chicken stock in the bottom of the pan to roast the bird. And here we go with the chicken stock. I'm just going to put this entire carton of chicken stock in with it. It's this one's a quart, so, and you can kind of play with that a little bit as you do it, but I just like to have a nice bed of moisture that thing's roasting in, just to keep as much moisture in the bird and through the bake as we can. So we're going to get this thing on at 325 and use your typical turkey instructions based on weight per pound. It's about 15 minutes a pound, and go from there. So at our house, we kind of really get into spring Thanksgiving. You know, honestly, I'd rank it up there with probably my second favorite holiday to actual Thanksgiving. But so we kind of get into the whole mashed potatoes and stuffing and all the sides as well. But you know, that's completely up to you on your end on how you want to do that part. But for our meal today, we're going to go relatively elaborate with the entire spread. All right, so we're just going to let this cook and get going on all the sides, and we'll check back in with you once the bird is cooked. All right, so our turkey's been cooking for a couple hours, and we made it to the internal temperature of 165 that we're looking for. And I'm just going to pull this up and out of here and set it on the cutting board to rest. So we'll let that bird rest for, you know, probably 10-15 minutes. Let it cool off a little bit, and we'll get it carved up. So looks delicious, smells delicious. Onward we go. All right, so we got the breast carved up off the bird. It is on the table, and we're ready to eat. Follow along with this episode, and be sure to check in on the next one where we tell you what to do with the leftovers.